And I feel good because we didn't have any issues with the connection dropping during the live. So I'm like, yay. So that makes me happy. All right, guys. So we are doing our study group time. So here we go. Study group time. Actually, let me kind of write that down here so I can highlight that comment. Study group. The secret study group. No readings. Okay. Let's see if I can. Okay, this secret study group. Okay, let's see. Pen comment. Perfect. I think that's it. Yeah, here it goes. Penned the secret study group, no readings. Perfect. Yay. Okay, so I think that works out. So yeah, I was like, I thought about that before. I was like, what can I do to put something on the screen so people know that this is the secret study group, no readings. So yeah, so I was like, so and I was able to, like, I thought about that earlier. I was like, oh, I can just put in a comment and then pin the comment, and then everybody who comes in is going to see that. And so let me see. Actually, it needs to say, I think it needs to say the secret study group. Let's see. The secret study group no personal readings. So readings. Okay, I think that will do it. Let's see. Okay, here we go. So I just did it again. Let's see. Pin comment. Perfect, there it goes. Okay, so that says the secret study group, no personal readings. Okay, hopefully that'll work, right? Hopefully that'll work. Okay, so all right, guys, study group time. So we're gonna read from the book. We're gonna stop. I'm gonna give my commentary. If you have questions about the material or the topic or spiritual topics, feel free to put those in the comment section below. And yeah, and then I'll try to answer some of the questions as we work through, okay? Hey, good morning. Good morning, girl. I'm like, wake up, Freddie, wake up. It's already the evening time. All right, so let's go through it. All right, so the last time we left off, I was on page 48. Yeah, I was on page 48, so we'll start there. Okay, so you do not have to ask over and over again. Just ask once. It is exactly like placing an order from a catalog. You only ever order something once. You don't place an order and then doubt the order has been received, and so place the order again, and then again. You order once. It is the same with the creative process. Step one is simply your step to get clear about what you want. As you get clear in your mind, you have asked. Step two is believe. Believe that it's already yours. Have what I love to call unwavering faith. Believing in the unseen. You must believe that you have received. You must know that what you want is yours the moment you ask. You must have complete and utter faith. If you have placed an order from a catalog, you would relax. Know you are going to receive what you ordered and get on with your life. See the things that you want as already yours. Know that they will come to you at need, then let them come. Don't fret and worry about them. Don't think about your lack of them. Think of them as yours. Let me turn off this music. Okay. All right, I got it. See the things that you want as already yours. Know that they will come to you at need, then let them come. Don't fret and worry about them. Don't think about your lack of them. Think of them as yours, as belonging to you, as already in your possession. In the moment you ask and believe and know, you already have it in the unseen. The entire universe shifts to bring it into the scene. You must act, speak, and think as though you are receiving it now. Why? The universe is a mirror, and the law of attraction is mirroring back to you your dominant thoughts. So So doesn't it make sense that you have to see yourself as receiving it? If your thoughts contain noticing you do not have it yet, you will continue to attract not having it yet. You must believe you have it already. You must believe you have received it. You have to admit the feeling frequency of having received it, to bring those pictures back as your life. When you do that, the law of attraction will powerfully move all circumstances, people, and events for you to receive. When you book a vacation, order a brand new car, or buy a house, you know those things are yours. You wouldn't go and book another vacation for the same time or purchase another car or house. If you won a lottery or received a large inheritance, even before you physically had the money, you know it is yours. That is the feeling of believing it is yours. That is the feeling of believing you have it already. That is the feeling of believing you have received. Claim the things you want by feeling and believing they are yours. When you do that, the law of attraction will powerfully move all circumstances, people, and events for you to receive. How do you get yourself to a point of believing? Start make believing. Be like a child and make believe. Act as if you have it already. As you make believe, you will begin to believe you have received. The genie is responding to your predominant thoughts all the time, not just in the moment you ask. That's why after you've asked, you must continue to believe and know. Have faith. Your belief that you have it, that underlying faith, is your greatest power. When you believe you are receiving, get ready and watch the magic begin. You can have what you want if you know how to form the mold for it in your own thoughts. There is no dream that may not come true if you but learn to use the creative force working through you. The methods that there is no dream that may not come true if you but learn to use the creative force working through you. The methods that work for one will work for all. The key to power lies in using what you have freely, fully, and thus opening wide your channels for more creative force to flow through you. The universe will start to rearrange itself to make it happen for you. Most of us have never allowed ourselves to want what we truly want because we can't see how it's going to manifest. If you do just a little research, it is going to become evident to you that anyone that ever accomplished anything did not know how they were going to do it. They only knew they were going to do it. You don't need to know how it's going to come about. You don't need to know how the universe will rearrange itself. How it will happen, how the universe will bring it to you, is not your concern or job. Allow the universe to do it for you. When you are trying to work out how it will happen, you are emitting a frequency that contains a lack of faith, and you don't believe you have it already. You think you have to do it, and you do not believe the universe will do it for you. The how is not your part in the creative process. You don't know how. It will be shown to you. You will attract the way. Most of the time, and here I'm gonna stop there for a second because these are getting into some interesting topics. So first of all, they're already talking about how if you just want it, then the universe is automatically gonna start to compile and bring all of those pieces and components into your life so you can have it. It's not true, because if you are based in a mindset and in a state of being that perpetuates lack, perpetuates fear, struggle, pain, suffering, by default, you can wish all you want for better things, but they ain't gonna come because your state of being is perpetuating the status quo. That's like asking someone they keep jumping into the pool, but they're wishing to be dry. But yet they keep jumping back in every single time they get out of the pool. Well, how are you going to ever get dry if you keep jumping back into the pool? If you are desiring to experience certain things in your life and you want to achieve certain things in your life, but all of your actions, your mindset, your perspective, your ideas, your thinking, what you react to, your activity of the things, if all of that is based in a state of lack or in the status quo, and that's everything, and that you give all your energy to that, then at that point, you can wish, like I said, you can wish all you want, you can dream all you want, but it's very unlikely that that's going to come up for you, just because you're not in a place to receive and not in a place to achieve or to connect to that. In order for you to really desire to be dry, you have to make the attempt to stay dry and to focus on not getting wet again or not jumping back into the pool, no matter how easy it gets, no matter how it feels in the moment. And there may be different reasons for it. There may be different reasons why you go back to old patterns or old behaviors. And I will say this, the moment that you decide you want to change your life and you want things to be different and you start taking action or trying to move in the direction of that, you're going to hit a brick wall right away, or you're going to have stuff come up that feels like blocks or feels like slapback. And the reason why is because your state of being has been maintained in this old pattern and this old trend for so long. The universe doesn't know what else to give you but what you've been already doing constantly and what you've been asking for in all of your thinking and energy. And so when it talks about you only have to ask one time, when you have a desire is a wish. A desire is a choice. A desire is an opportunity to shift away from what you currently have or what is to what you prefer or what you choose. And so desire is that key. Desire is the thing that's going to get you to kind of go in a different direction. You just have to follow through with that. If you just have desires and then you just wish and wish and wish and wish, but you don't actually believe or think that you can do any of those things, you take no action to move in that direction, you don't follow up with the opportunities that come your way, at that point, then you are choosing to stick to the status quo. For example, let's think of Starbucks, for example. I back in the day when I was a Starbucks store manager, I had many partners being employees. I had many employees who wanted a promotion, wanted to make more money, wanted to be in a position of authority. And so they would make it very clear that they wanted to promote or they wanted to evolve or they wanted to grow. And what I would say to them is, okay, this is what I need to see from you. I need to see you taking more initiative with these kinds of situations. I need you to work on, and I would use specific examples, and each person was different because each person had different issues that they had to work through. But I would say, this is what I need you to work through. Because if I can see you work through this and actually improve how you handle these kinds of situations, then I know that you have the capacity to be what you say you want to be. But I gotta see it. I need to understand that you're serious about it. I'm not just gonna hand you the keys and give you the code to the safe just because you want a promotion. We all want better things. We all want to do this and do that. That doesn't mean you have the capacity or you're capable. You got people walking around, I'm gonna get my real estate license and I'm gonna do incredible things. I have friends who have made millions being realtors. I'm like, okay, but do you have the personality it takes to be a realtor? Because those people's personalities may be very different from yours. Do you have the amount of effort and work and energy to put in what they've put in? Or are you just assuming that just because they're realtors and they've made it really well for themselves, that you're going to have the same ability to do the same? I'm just thinking that once I get my real estate license, then I'm just going to be able to make a lot of money being a realtor. I'm like, good luck with that. Because you need to be the right personality. You need to have the right personality skills to be able to do that. You need to follow through with leads. You need to follow through with making connections and when networking and with advertising yourself and promoting yourself and taking advantage of every opportunity that comes your way to be able to latch on and have a new client or a new connection. Like, that's what it takes. Are you able to do that every day? Well, no, I've got a full-time job. Okay, well then you ain't gonna be a good realtor. So you might as well just give it up and stop wasting your time dreaming about something you're not capable of doing, because at this point you're not capable. And so some of these people who wanted to be managers or wanted to be supervisors for me, they said that they would get all muffled and pissy because I'm like, I haven't seen any change. Like, do you think that me just having this conversation with you is automatically going to grant you this opportunity? No, I'm telling you what I need from you. This is the universe offering you what you desire. The universe isn't going to suddenly make me want to turn you into a supervisor. The universe is giving me the nudge to give you the opportunity to rise to the occasion. You still got to rise to the occasion. I'm not going to hand you all of this for nothing. So you got to put in and follow through. And that's the problem, is most people have desires. Most people have longings. Most people want to evolve their lives into a direction and a preference and a set of circumstances that they would prefer. Most people want that. But do most people follow through? Absolutely not. And it has been my experience in this where I know a lot of people who say they want this and they want that, but they don't follow through. And that's the key. You have to follow through. If you are desiring to become a athletic swimmer and go to the Olympics, and someone calls you and says, hey, do you want to go to a pool party with me? And you say no because you just don't want to deal with people, or you don't want to go and mix around. But that's an opportunity to get into the water. That's an opportunity to get into the pool. That's an opportunity to experience being in a pool and practicing swimming. So why would you say no to that when that's an opportunity that could bring you closer and steps closer to something else? What if that party is at a person's house who actually worked for the committee in the Olympics or whatever? So what I'm saying is, we don't always know how things are going to connect for us. We don't always know how we're going to be led towards something. We are so cocky and arrogant to believe that we know how life is going to work, how life is going to go, and how everything is going to function. And so we are so cocky and arrogant to believe that we know more than life, than the universe, and God. So what you need to understand is that when we have a desire, and the desire opens up a potentiality for us, the universe is going to bring about circumstances that can help us to lean in the direction of that potentiality. But we have to take advantage of every and all things that are presented forward that can take us in that direction. And most people do not. Most people want it just handed to them. So you gotta understand, this is not going to be just like, oh, I'm wishing for this, I believe that I'm going to get this, and it's just going to show up. No. Now, here's an example of this. And you can turn it into like, oh, well, the universe is just messing with me. So I once, back in the day when I first started to learn about law of attraction, and I was a big, Jerry and Esther Hicks fan, and I used to like listen to Abraham like nobody's business. We were reading the book. It's called Ask and It Is Given. Is it Ask and It Is? Yeah, it's Ask and It Is Given. And they're talking about, there was an example that they gave about a vehicle and how they, there was Jerry's daughter, in the book, Jerry's daughter wanted a new car. And because they have money and they do very well for themselves, she just wanted to have him buy her the car. And he said, no, he says, I want you. I says, I can do that, but what is that going to help you? How are you going to manifest that? How is that you manifesting anything? So he says, no, you need to manifest this without it being the obvious answer, which is me doing it for you because it's easy. And so I want you to really manifest this. So he basically gave it to her as a task. And so she spent a few months, but she was able to actually manifest that vehicle. So they talk about that in the story. So so back in the early days when I was studying this stuff, I used to go to this book study group, and it was at a tea house in Houston that I used to go to this with. There were several other people that would show up, and we would all read some passages and talk about this. And there was a woman that kind of ran the group, and she was more of like the moderator, I guess you can say. But anyways, there was a gentleman there, and he had talked about how he really wanted like a BMW, and it was a specific model of like a BMW, and that he really wanted that, and he had been wishing for it, and he had been, he went to the BMW dealership, he drove one, so he was doing everything that he thought he was supposed to do. And what was interesting, it's funny because I always thought to myself, like, did you apply for credit, or did you do anything to like actually apply for it, or are you just trying to have the thing like appear out of nowhere? But nonetheless, he was wishing that he would have a BMW so he could drive it. Well, sure enough, about a month after he started his work, and not telling anybody what he wanted, didn't mention to anybody that he wanted a BMW, the specific model, whatever. A month later, his brother shows up at home with a brand new BMW, and guess what kind of model it is? It's the exact vehicle that he wanted. And so immediately he got really perturbed because he's like, well, that's crappy. Like, I'm the one that wanted it. Why is the universe going to give it to this person? Why didn't I get it? Why, and I was just like, dude, if your brother has the vehicle, I'm pretty sure you're going to get a chance to drive it. Maybe this is the universe giving you one closer step to understand and get clear on what your experience is going to be. Why don't you go and drive it? Why don't you borrow it? Why don't you, these are opportunities for you to just, have the experience that can bring you closer to the reality of it. And instead he flipped it and turned it into the universe is like me messing with me, or it's hurting me, or doing this to me. I'm like, that shows the energy difference between your brother and you, because immediately, instead of by default turning it into a step closer to what you wanted, instead you turned it into a weapon against yourself and against your intent, and you used it to basically dismantle your belief and your faith. And so that's what it comes down to is, if you desire certain things in your life, then work towards them. Take steps in that direction. Do something that can help you to feel like you're moving towards that. You don't have to do every single thing that would be required, because by default, if you start to move in that direction or start to take steps and actions towards that, the universe will start to fill in some of those gaps and you won't have to do as much work. But you have to still move in that direction. Just sitting on your ass and praying and asking for something isn't going to cut it. Now, you might be one of the few people that it's rarely happened to, but nonetheless, you may not be able to hold on to it to keep it, or it's going to come with a bag of tricks. And so you got to move in the direction of it. And if you start to move in the direction of what you desire, whether it be a physical thing or an experience or a life, you're going to start to feel like you're doing something. And just feeling like you're doing something immediately makes you feel like you're making progress. And if you feel like you're making progress, then you don't really have to have faith, because you already know you're going towards that. You're moving in that direction. You're going to at some point get there, but you feel like you're already doing that. And that feeling, that knowing, is the faith. That is where the faith gets filled in. Just waiting around for, like I said, an angel to descend from the heavens with whatever you want is just going to be a waste of time. So going back to this. Let's see. Step 3 and the final step in the process is to receive. Begin to feel wonderful about it. Feel the way you will feel once it arrives. Feel it now. Okay, so here's a good trick. This is something that I learned. Nothing in life is perfect, right? Nothing in life isn't ideal. This is the human reality, the human experience, the human condition, which means we have yin and yang, we have both positive and negative, we have duality here. So nothing in life is ever going to be perfect. So get the idea of a perfect life once certain things happen out of your head, out of your reality, because that's just you setting yourself up for a lot of disappointment. Now, coming back to this, she says step 3, the final step in the process is to receive. Begin to feel wonderful about it. Feel the way you will feel once it arrives. Feel it now. I don't know about you, but whenever you buy a house and it's your very first home, you assume, oh my God, this is so incredible. I have my first home. Oh my God, this is going to be amazing. You know, it's the best thing ever. And every single day is just an incredible, amazing experience. And now that I have my home, like that's a imaginary reality, because I don't know anyone who has bought in a home or gotten into having a home and everything is perfect and there's never anything to have to consider that's a real situation. I don't know anybody like that. Everybody who buys a home, there's stages of it that you go through. When I first bought my first home, I was happy, I was excited, I felt accomplished, but it was an old house. It required repair, required maintenance, grass had to be cut. All these things had to happen for me to maintain and keep that home. So it wasn't a perfect experience. It was a real experience. And what I've come to understand now is it actually works much more powerfully if you can give yourself the sense of having an experience that includes all angles of it. So for example, if I'm thinking of the idea of having to have my own business. You know, what would it be like to have my own business? Oh, well, no one's going to tell me what to do. I wake up and the money is there and I get to enjoy every day like it's perfect. You know, like, okay, back to reality. I knew people who were business owners, and that's not how they were when they had their businesses. They stressed about taxes. They would worry about this. They would worry about that. There were all these other aspects to the experience besides just this idealized version of it. What I started to do was incorporate those elements that were not so much fun, that were part of the full experience. And so if I was going to be a business owner, I'm going to have my own business. I can start my work at the time that I want to. I'm accountable to just myself. I don't have to worry about, being somebody else's bitch at work. I had all these like ideas, but I also started to incorporate some of these other things like, taxes. And so I would allow myself to experience versions of some of those other sides of it, not just the ideal perfect version of it. And what ended up happening is it actually prepared me and aligned me to be able to do this in a much more effective way. And so some of my journey in having my own business has actually gone much more easily and smoothly than I would have probably had I not had those like pre visualization experiences, because other things would have probably come up, and it would have been a much more challenging and much more painful experience for me. Granted, I had my own set of challenges that I had to face and deal with in building my own business, but I still had a pretty smooth ride. I mean, a lot of people can't say that the moment that they decide they want to start their business and then they actually put in 100% of their effort into the business, that they can suddenly be stable and sustainable 1 year later and leave their full-time job. Not a lot of people get that opportunity, and to have it grow so quickly, and then for it to continue to grow tremendously after that. And so not a lot of people get that, but I had the ability to do that because I was fixated and focused on a realistic and practical version of my dream, of my desire. I wasn't in love with this like false version of it or this ideal version of it. I was trying to be just have a regular, a normal experience of a business with all the elements that come along with it, and then I incorporated that into my visualization and my practice. Getting in the energy, getting in the state of what it would be like. And that worked for me. That was actually a very, very good and powerful way to manifest and to get things rolling much more effectively. And in the process, it's important to feel good, to be happy, because when you're feeling good, you're putting yourself in the frequency of what you want. Now, because you're going to get what you want regardless of your frequency, but some experiences are going to be pleasurable, some experiences are going to be painful. If you are in the frequency of suffering and painful experiences and you're perpetuating that, then you're only going to get more of that. If you're in the experience of having more lightheartedness, feeling better, feeling a little lighter, not so worried, not so concerned, I forced myself to not be so concerned with money, to not be so worried about money. Even if I had issues of money staring me in the face, I would take the action necessary to resolve those issues, but I wouldn't let myself get caught up in like this long, serious, influenced state of being where that's all that my thoughts were consumed by. And in doing so, it allowed me to just release the tension, release the stress, release the anxiety with that, and just to do what I had to do to resolve it, and then continue to move forward and focus on my end goal, my end result. But you can feel positive or negative. You don't always have to be in this ideal happy state to achieve anything or to manifest anything that you want. You can be just a normal person who is really good at focusing and following through. This is a feeling universe. If you just intellectually believe something, but you have no corresponding feeling underneath, that you don't necessarily have enough power to manifest what you want in your life. You have to feel it. Ask once, believe you have received, and all you have to do is receive. All you have to do to receive is feel good. When you are feeling good, you are on the frequency of receiving. You are on the frequency of all good things coming to you, and you will receive what you have asked for. You wouldn't ask for anything unless it was going to make you feel good in the receiving of it, would you? So get yourself on the feeling good frequency, and you will receive. A fast way to get yourself on that frequency is to say, I am receiving now. I am receiving all the good in my life now. I am receiving blank, blank, blank now. And feel it. Feel it as though you have received. That doesn't do nothing for me. So they're full of it. So I'm not going to just say that and then feel great. It's just not going to It's be fake. It's not going to work. So what I would recommend you do is actually supplement your desire to feel better, to feel good about something, and supplement it with something else that is as similar to it as possible. So instead of you giving yourself an imaginary delusional state of believing, which this is what he's talking about here, me saying, what did he say? Let's see, let's try it out and tell me how incredible you feel. I am receiving now. I am receiving all good in my life now. I am receiving the perfect house now. I don't feel it. It don't do nothing for me. Nothing's happening inside of me that is shifting my energy or my state of being. But when I imagine and I envision this home, this place that I would desire, instead of just saying something that is empty, try to fill your daily experiences with what that could look like, what that could be like. And again, I'll use the example that I used before. Before I moved here to Santa Fe, I wanted to know what it would feel like to be able to live here and to be able to work from here. Because if I was going to live here, I was going to work here too. And so for me, just vacationing here was giving me an ideal version of the experience. But I would end up coming and visiting here, and then I would go back to Houston or go back, and I would feel worse because I didn't want to leave. And so what I started to do is to start to diminish how drastically I felt here versus in Houston. And I was trying to mold and mesh and bring both experiences together so that I was feeling more or less the same here as I was feeling in Houston, but I was more in love with the experience here, and the experience I was giving myself in Houston was as close to it as possible. And so when I would vacation here, the houses that we would rent out to vacation in, I would rearrange some of the rooms and turn it into an office for that week, and I would still work during my vacation, so I would have a sense of what it would feel like to work here and live here at the same time, where I had a view of the mountains and I could look out and see everything. I wanted to give myself that experience. And so that's what I would do, and it worked for me. And when I would go back to Houston, before I left the Santa Fe, I took a picture of what the dust looked like and what the view looked like, and then I would put that as my wallpaper on my desktop computer or my computer, and every time I would work, the first thing I would see when I opened my thing is that view. And I would immediately tell myself, and that's where I got delusional, this is what I see. And I'm looking out this view. Oh my God, it's so amazing. I love this. And I would try to capture and reclaim some of those emotions and those thoughts that I would have when I was actually working and looking at that view. So I would replay that experience, replay that memory in an experiencing form while I was working and being in Houston. And that allowed me to feel a connection. And that gave me a sense of the reality of what could be, not just saying these words that mean absolutely nothing to me, because they mean nothing to me. So you have to give yourself an experience that can definitely embody what you're looking to desire, what you're looking for in that way. Okay, I'm going to stop there because I want to answer your questions because I don't want too much time to go by. So let me see. Yeah, so I'll stop there. All right, so look at some of your questions here. Let's see. All right. Let's see. Candace, can seeing a person's name repeatedly mean universe giving sign to reach out? It really just depends. I mean, this can be several different things. We're all connected. We're all connected to each other through energy, through thought, through frequency. And so if I'm thinking about a person, the moment I start thinking about that person and having a memory or a emotional experience come up is the moment that person in that moment is also being triggered by an experience or a memory or a thought that may be connected to you. And so there's going to be something like that. Now, if they're aware enough or self-aware enough, they'll be aware that they're having that memory come up or that thought come up. If they're just going about their day and it's like the ticker tape with the stocks, that's just going to go in and go out, and they're not even going to realize that was there for a second. But that's how the communication works. It's a telepathic connection. It's a telepathic communication there. So when you are thinking of someone's name repeatedly, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's universe telling you reach out to this person. You can see it as that. The only way to know is for you to reach out. But what I usually associate that with is either that individual is thinking of you and you're actually getting triggered by that energy, or there's an experience coming up that may involve that person, meaning that there's a future experience coming up and you're already picking up on some of those elements before they've shown up or before the experience has happened. Now, again, the only way to know is just to reach out to that person if you want to, but it's up to you whether you want to reach out to the person or not. But that's not always necessarily what that means. Okay. So going over here. Let's see. All right, so no spiritual questions here. Let's see. Come on, guys. Where are your spiritual questions? Where are your questions pertaining to the secret or manifesting? I want to see them. I ain't seeing any. Like this, I'm used to seeing several. What's going on here? Where are my questions at? Yeah, real expectations. Yeah, real expectations. Real expectations, or just expectations that are closest to reality, are going to be the most powerful mechanisms to actually produce something in the physical world, or to manifest something in the physical world. Miss Jenny, some people don't have the financial ability to go and see what it's like to live somewhere else. Okay, so then here's another way to do this. So if some people don't have the financial means, I had a client for many years where she wanted to live in an island somewhere in the Pacific, and it was a specific island she wanted to live at. And so what I would tell her is, okay, like, you can move there, you can make that happen, but what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to give yourself as close to that experience as possible. So she went and she painted her space, and she cleared out a lot of the clutter in her home, and she tried to make it look like what it would look like going there. And what she did is just to study. She did research, she did study. I used to, before I moved here, there was a scene with the coyote fence, because we use coyote fences here with these roses, and I used to put that picture on my TV every single day when I worked. And so whenever I was doing Reiki on people, I would see that visual of that, and I kept thinking of myself here doing my work. And so that's what I used. So I used the TV as just a wallpaper to represent the visual impression. I even got a recording of the mountains and how it looks for the mountains to go by, and I found a recording online, and I uploaded it to put it on a USB port, put it into the TV, and in the mornings when I would wake up, I would envision as if I was waking up and I had a mountain view and I had a fresh cup of coffee. So I'd get my fresh cup of coffee, I'd go over to my couch, middle of Houston, I'd put on that video, and it was like a 30-minute video, but I'd sit there and I just let the video play out, and it was a nature scene, and there was sounds and everything, and I would just sit there having my cup of coffee, and I would give myself the experience of what it would be like to wake up in the morning and have a mountain view and be sitting out and looking at, certain things while I was having my first cup of coffee. Like that's a way around it. So you don't need to technically take a trip to a place to be able to go there. But again, if you've never been to a certain place, you don't really want to even wish for going to a place that you've never been to, because you may not like it. I had tons of ideas for where I wanted to live, or what, before I ever went there. Then I realized, I don't want to live here. Why the hell was I thinking that? So if you're imagining, I want to live next to the ocean. Okay, are you sure about that? Because, living next to the ocean comes with its own set of problems, and it comes with the threat of a hurricane. It comes with all these other things. So you have to take that all into account, into consideration. But if you want to give yourself the experience, then give yourself as close to it as possible. You don't have to spend money, but you can give yourself experiences. Again, my wallpaper from my computer, my TV, and the little the looping video of the mountains and the clouds and everything. So give yourself that. And it was an actual 4K video of a scene in the mountains and the clouds, and you could see the ravens flying by. And I would do that all the time. At night when I would fall asleep, I would listen to the sound of the crickets, because here we have crickets at night, and I love that sound. So I would listen to that while I would fall asleep. There's a lot of little tricks and tips you can do that don't require you to spend money. So here's what I would say, Jenny. So here's what I would say, because you're where my mom was. Here's what I'm going to say. So you're locking your desire into a specific set of circumstances and scenarios that may not be easy for the universe to make possible for you. And so you're locking it into, it has to be that house, it has to be that land, it has to be that thing. And so what I would say to you is this: open it up. As much as you might have an attachment to that home and an attachment to that property and that experience, that doesn't mean it's the only place you can have that experience. You can have that experience in other ways. But if you lock yourself into that, you're going to keep yourself away from having that experience. Because the moment you think of that place and that experience, you're not just thinking about those moments that you had growing up, or moments where your mom was. You're also triggering all of the trauma, or you're triggering all of the emotional attachments to your brother being there, or his half, or it costing this much money, and it brings up all that junk with it. And so you're actually sending out two signals. You're desiring something, but you're also bringing up all of this garbage that is probably not going to work in your favor, and in fact is going to work against you. So what I would recommend is create a neutral version of this space. In other words, think of try to find or try to come up with a neutral version of the space that you are attached to, and focus on the experience that feels better to you, or that doesn't have all this extra garbage attached to it. Because if you can give yourself that feeling and that sense, then that may take you closer to being able to get there. And by default, the universe is going to try the best way possible to give you that. And so I would recommend that you not align yourself to just one way of having this experience, but opening that up to possibilities, because you're limiting yourself and you're going to lock yourself into a situation that isn't going to budge. And so you need to open up the possibilities for yourself and give yourself the permission to have other experiences that don't technically have to be tied to that space, but can give you similar feelings and so forth. You can't go to the past and relive the past. Know that very clearly. You can't go back to the past and relive the past, but you can bring experiences from your past that you appreciated and enjoy, bring it to the now, and then give yourself that experience, so that way you can get close to the feelings that you actually enjoyed or really appreciated. And then that may actually start to turn and shift some things for you. Jen May's manifestation. I've been seriously considering a road trip, which I jokingly call my imaginary trip, as I don't know if I can physically go where I want, from Houston to Colorado and New Mexico maybe. Am I into manifestation or delusion? I want to see natural wonders and am grateful for nature here, but I have doubts. So you already talked yourself out of it. You have your desire. Your desire is pure. There's nothing wrong with the desire you have, but you already gave yourself limitations to the possibility that it could happen. And what I would say to you is, instead of, I know you said, the trip, as I don't know if I can physically go where I want. So here's what I will say is, if you don't know until you try. And so what I would recommend is giving yourself a mini trip. So if you can't make it to New Mexico or to Colorado, then pick another place that might give you a similar feeling. Plan a trip to Marfa and drive out to Marfa, or go out to Marfa, or plan a trip to Kerrville, or plan a trip to, where, it just depends on wherever you are. But just give yourself a mini version of it. But you need a practice run so you can start to get the feelings of what it would be like. When we came here, I didn't know what I was coming here for. I just felt the need to come out here. I felt the calling and the summoning to come out here. My partner and I had no idea what to expect, what it would be like here. When you hear of New Mexico, nobody really talks about New Mexico, so we didn't know what the hell we were doing. But I was like, let's go to Santa Fe. And I was expecting Billy the Kid and Wild Wild West and all that other stuff, which is here. It is here, but it's not like what you would think from a movie's standpoint or anything like that. So when we planned the trip, I just said, screw it. I'm tired of waiting for this to just kind of happen. And I'm tired of planning it out. And it's funny because my partner and I, sometimes we overthink things, and he's very much an overthinker and over planner, where everything has to be planned out to the detail. And I'm not, I'm like a doer. And so I was just I waited a while, and he hadn't really solidified the plan, and it was becoming too complicated. And I was like, this is too complicated. I just want to go. And so I just booked the place. So I went online, went to Airbnb, booked it, and then we attempted the trip. We made it. It was it's like a 14, 16-hour drive, which I always recommend. If you can't drive that far, then don't, but I leave early in the morning and I arrive in the afternoon. And so it works for me. But you can do it. It's just dependent on, but you got to take some mini trips or try mini versions of this. And then that way you can start to give yourself a feel for what this is going to be like. For me, I have this all settled. I know how to do that trip with nothing. I can make that drive fairly easily. I have all my breaks planned out, where I'm going to stop to use the bathroom, where I'm going to buy my barbecue sandwich at their Buc-ee's. So I always have all these things. But yeah, give yourself a mini version of it, even if it's just like you driving out 100 miles and then driving back. But you need to give yourself experiences so you can start to give yourself a reason to just do it without overthinking about it, because you're overthinking at this point. So I don't think you're delusional. I think that you just need to try to do the best that you can within means or within what you have available to you at this time, and then give it a go. You know, it's funny because my partner's sister, we always were like, hey, you should come up and visit us. And she's not like a desert person. She's like an ocean or beach person. But we're like, hey, you should come up and visit us. And she has arthritis. She has really bad arthritis. And she's like, I can't sit for that long. It's going to be too painful or whatever. And so I was like, okay. And so it's like a 14 hour trip. It's really more like 12 if you really, depends on who you're driving with, but 14 hours. But then they decided, like, she said she couldn't do it. She couldn't make the trip. But then she was able to drive to Florida. She drive to Destin or whatever. And that's like not that much of a difference in time from driving here. And we're just like, obviously, if you're motivated, you can make that trip and you can sit your ass for as long as you could. So it ain't a question of whether you could or you couldn't. It's like, you know, are you motivated enough? Do you really want to have the experience? And so that's what that's about. And so really it just comes down to that. So give yourself some example versions of it and then give it a go. The alignment of numbers 1111 is just, again, and I mentioned this in the live in the last hour, is it just depends on the person and what they're going through in that moment. But usually, and it's a rule of thumb for me, if you start seeing alignment of numbers all the time, it's just the universe telling you that the plan that your soul had, your soul plan, is being fulfilled. That includes both positive and negative experiences, because there are positive and negative experiences we're here to have. And so your soul plan is being fulfilled and you're in alignment with what you're supposed to go through. And so you're in a flow state of the experiences. When we start to fight life or control life or try to tell life what to do, or we get hooked into or stuck on reoccurring themes of trauma and reoccurring themes of lack, then we don't have those alignments of numbers. Those alignment of numbers come fairly easily and like excessively when you're in the flow, when you're in that zone. When you're not going to get those very often. So that's always a good indicator. When people ask, like, how do I know that I'm where I'm supposed to be, or I'm supposed to, people think that they're supposed to have ideal circumstances, or they're supposed to, like, you know, what's my life purpose? You know, oh, your life purpose is to get a Grammy Award. And that's it. That's the only thing you're here for. Your job is to stand and to walk up a stage and get this little award and stand there and look pretty. That is the entirety of your life and why you're here. No, it's not why you're here. That's not the only thing you're here for. That's like a moment in like someone's life. Like if you desire to be an actor or to, you know, go into that, then you need to practice being an actor. Go and get involved in plays. Go and take an acting class. Go and do an online acting course. Whatever it takes to give yourself the experience that you're moving in that direction. You're not here to like achieve this one thing. No person is here to just achieve a one thing. People have an entire lifetime they have to go through and live through, and it's all valuable. And it's usually the little moments and the smaller moments that are most significant in people's lives versus the big accomplishments. All right, guys, I'm out of time. So I will see y'all next week. Please take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Mask up. If you haven't been vaccinated, consider it, because it is definitely something to be considering at this point. So I love you all. Please take care of yourself, and I will see you.